Right, hey, what's up, everyone? Wanted to go over this new spreadsheet that I'm putting out. For those of you who may not have seen on the Golden Tee Facebook group, this is a Google Doc that I've started, and it is posted in one of the threads. So if you want to search for that post in the group for my name, you should be able to find this post that has a spreadsheet. And what I've been doing is I've been mapping holes. I've only done a couple of holes so far because the time investment to do this is going to be very significant. As you can see, I'm using a lot of different balls for the holes, and I'm also, needing to mulligan so I can keep shooting from the same spot. I'm really working through a lot of my inventory, but you'll see what I'm going to be doing is trying to put together these lists that will essentially help guys with different shots for all the holes. So for example, here's hole 2 with the pyros, and you'll see a bunch of different balls that you can use. You'll also see these rough bumps, like how far they roll out, 14 yards, 25 yards. You'll also see, if you have the Golden Tee on the high mediums, you'll see that it gives you that much extra carry from the original number. So if my driver typically is 263 and I put a Golden Tee medium on, maybe it goes up to 277. Bear in mind, it's going to kind of be dictated a little bit where you land, and also if you hit some kind of hook or curl shot, it's obviously going to take off. So this is kind of like linear distance, that it'll go that far, but if you start to hit curved shots, it's going to take off of that number a little bit. But I also, put in the maniacs, and I also put in just a little note here that it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of plus 4% of what the typical numbers would be, the baseline numbers. So I'm just kind of mapping things out, and I want to kind of show you how to use some of this data. So first off, one of the things I can do is kind of point. You can see I'm pointing this 243. It's almost right towards the fringe there. That's almost exactly where we want it. So 240 is essentially the carry that I'm going to be going for. So if I was to go take a look at this, this might not be the best driver bump shot because I needed to go 240. 240 is going to be hard to dial up. Now, one of the things that you'll see, my driver, if it's carrying 263, it typically rolls out to say 300. Each percent is almost going to be 3 yards. Like 1% off is almost 3 yards less. So let's say I wanted to land it at 240. That's going to be kind of tough to do. I'm thinking, at least taking off 7-8% minimum, maybe even 9 just to be on the safe side. But that would be more or less, what I may try to do. This isn't a very good shot for the bump, but I did want to at least talk about it. So, make sure that you don't put any T. And you can also see, where that pin is. It says about 259, maybe it doesn't even roll out. So if it was 240, if I'm landing 240 and I needed to go out to 259, which looks almost like where the hole is at 257, there's a chance that it doesn't roll out with just a streak. It's going to be very close. I'd have to land it right towards the top. So do keep that in mind. So you'll see, I'm going to kind of underplay this wind. And as I mentioned, I'm thinking taking off 7-8% here. So you'll see but again, this may not be the best shot for this, but I just want to kind of talk about different shots that you can do. And that's why I'm putting out this video. You'll see that I'm kind of underplaying the wind just slightly. Biggest reason because we have some left break on the green. But you'll want to try to push up as straight as you can. And as you can see, it's rolling up. Might have been better with a torpedo ball, but you'll also see that rough, that it also kind of tipped, like that desert that I just landed on, it kind of bumps to the right. So you got to watch out for that shot. But you can see my weight was pretty good. It looks like I was about 1% too little. But also, as I mentioned, it was going to be pretty close to not rolling out. So if I wanted to make sure that rolled out, it would have been much better to do with a torpedo. I could have landed where I did with a torpedo, and it would have definitely rolled through the hole, which means that I had a possible chance for a hole out there. But you can see, when we're on kind of a shorter tee box, let's start to take a look at some other shots that we can do. So it looks like the basic 4-wood is going to land about 247. Now, we said we could kind of safely land maybe about 242 here. So that's going to be the next shot that I'm going to walk you guys through, is a 4-wood because, and as I mentioned, it's going to be somewhere kind of in this land zone. It's going to land right around here. So is this on the green? It looks like it may be 245. It might just be on the green. I'm also going to have how much rollout. It's going to be a lot of rollout. So this is going to also be another tough shot. So you can see that the basic ball is typically going to roll out 17 yards. I only need it to roll out maybe 12. So it's going to come in a little hot. That's what it tells me. If I hit this shot, just kind of basic as is, it's just going to roll out and it's going to come in just a little bit too hot. It might not be. So another thing, I might take off, it's a little bit of a tailwind, take off maybe like 1% or so. 99%, try to dial up a 99er. But this is just kind of an alternate shot that we can go for. Keeping in mind that the wind should be relatively significant. You can see about how much, because it's going to come in much higher than a driver, so you'll see much more wind influence. And as I mentioned, I'm just going to try to dial up 99. And it might be landing very close to the front of the green here. So this also may not be the best shot to be playing because it has to land far too close to the very front edge. And it's going to also come in hot. So you can see it's kind of rolling through the hole. But I just wanted to kind of talk about that because what if the pin was a little bit farther back? That would have been a perfect shot to play. And you could see that I could see, basically using this spreadsheet, how far it's going to land. It's going to, be very accurate for helping you determine that. So let's talk about another shot. Now this one's going to be a little bit tougher, but it's going to be the grabber version. So you can see that a grabber 3-wood lands about 257, rolls out to 260. That's going to be more or less what we're looking at here since we're at 257 for this shot. So I am going to just look at that. Now, the only thing about this grabber shot is it's going to have to, the bounces are going to have to land almost on the hole because there's going to be no rollout. So you're going to have to be very dialed with this shot to be able to pull it off and play it this way. So again, 257, maybe that's 1% less. So I need to dial this up to be 99% here. So a 99%er. With the grabber on. So very little needs to come out of that box up there. And hopefully I don't pull it. So you can see that it, basically perfect weight. We just needed to get that wind down. And as I mentioned, that wasn't going to be the easiest shot for hole out either. Biggest reason and why that shot's so flawed is because it almost has to land on the hole. But let's say the pin's too tight and you really can't do any other shot. That's going to be something that you'll be able to do just as kind of like a safe eagle. And you can see that I also got the great shot points. So I should be able to create kind of an advantage over my opponent. Now let's talk about what I consider probably to be the best shot here. So we've worked through 3 different ways to go about that shot. Let's talk about the last one, most important, which is going to be the orbit shot. And you'll see that typically with a 3-wood, it's going to come back maybe 13 yards. Driver, it's going to come back maybe 9-ish. So we really got to, you can almost see that driver is perfect the way it is. So it might be beneficial in this case because it is a little bit of a downwind. So it might land at, let's say it'll land at 264 in this case. That's more or less kind of what we want. And then it's going to suck back to about 255, which is going to be pretty close to where the hole is, and it should pass the hole. And one of the things that makes it a little bit easier with the driver is you don't have to play as much wind. So it makes it kind of an easier shot. So we're going to have to play kind of a little bit of wind, and the wind should, and this should be pretty close to 100%, and it should suck back and potentially be able to hold it out. So let's see if we can give this a go. Looks pretty straight. Pretty good online. Oh, it just missed. So it just rolled over the left. That was so close. So as you can see, we're really going to be able to give these holes a really good opportunity with this spreadsheet. So, I wanted to, kind of pass this along to you guys, see what you guys think. Feel free to list some comments in this video because, one of the things, when we were talking Golf Clash versus Golden Tee, a lot of my Golf Clash people are saying, I could never play this game. It's just too hard to figure out like where the ball's carrying to. Well, that's kind of the purpose of this spreadsheet that I'm thinking about putting together here. And it's very easy for us to all get to the Pyro clubs. If you haven't seen my video talking about the Pyro clubs in general, there's, 99-cent silver special that you can do. I have this in a Golden Tee folder if you want to look for that. It kind of walks you through, if you spend about, that silver boost 10 to 15 times, so $10 to $15 investment, you can easily get to max bag. And, you have plenty of silver to buy them. And it's a very low investment. And if you like this game, it is worth investing a little bit of money into because they're going to need money in order to stay in business. They can't work for free. So, if you do like the game, it is worth supporting. And this spreadsheet that I'm trying to build here is going to help guys figure out where the balls are going to be landing for each and every shot type to make it that much easier to play. So the one thing that you'll still have to do is you'll still have to figure out the wind kind of on your own. But that's where I kind of also talked about that as well on that post. It's kind of tough to tell. The wedges are kind of almost 2-to-1 for the wind. So if the wind's 9, it might be affected 18 miles per hour, for example, if it's straight in the face. If it's an angle wind, it might be, kind of 1-to-1. 9 miles per hour would be kind of 9 on a side, on like kind of like a 10-30 wind, for example. It probably almost affect your shot maybe 9 yards. And if it's a side wind, it essentially won't affect anything other than just side. So it'll still go, it still carries the same distance. So anytime we have, and you can see our wind was almost a side case, it was just a little pointed down. So I expected that wind to maybe affect like 1 mile per hour on a driver, maybe 2 miles, maybe 2 extra yards on a wood, because the woods and the wedges come in very high. Long irons and drivers, they come in very low. So you're going to see they're going to have much less wind effects. So you'll see that, let's say that was driver 6 miles per hour straight down, it may carry an extra 5 to 6 yards. But if it was a wood, it might carry even more than that. It might carry an extra 3 or 4 yards on top of that and then roll out kind of in a 2-to-1 fashion. So for instance, if it was a 6 mile per hour down and I was 257 out, I might need to play it kind of at 245 and double, it'll eventually roll out to that 257 more or less. Now, of course, elevation's going to affect that, which we did have on this. You could see that I put that elevation in there on my sheet. I put it at about 4% there on the base case. So you are going to see just a little bit of an uphill. Certain holes are going to have this, but this is just kind of like a rough overview of all the shots for the hole. I'm going to try to put this together for all the holes. So if you like this and think this is a good idea, feel free to comment in the video because I want to hear, some comments and what you guys are thinking if you're going to use it. Because let's say, each one of this probably took me an hour to build just for this hole. So a lot of time for me to go and do this for you guys. The more holes that they add, the more time it's going to take me to build a master sheet like this. On top of that, I probably had to waste 20 mulligans just to do this one hole. So I went through 20 mulligans. I used all these balls. I used Golden Tees. I used Maniacs. I used Orbit. I used all this stuff on this hole. So it's very expensive for me to build in terms of, I'm basically wasting all my inventory just to kind of build this. So that's why I kind of want to hear your guys' feedback, but let me know what you think. And, feel free to, share your thoughts. Thanks, guys. Good luck out there.